Hi, I'm Edgar from Woodworking by Edgar, and today I would like to show you how to build a birdhouse. It has a slotted front here for the bird to come in instead of a drilled hole, which makes it much easier to construct. The front of it folds out for you to clean it, and then goes back together, and you can just screw it back in, and then it gets screwed onto wherever you're putting it to hang it up. These birdhouses are primarily designed for bluebirds, or swallows will also like to nest in these. Purple martins, several of the flycatchers will nest in these houses also. Today is one of those days where, as you can see outside, it is snowy. Our power is out at this point, so you may be able to hear my generator running outside, but hopefully you can hear me above that noise. But I am going to do a little project that can be completely done with just hand tools, and these are really the essential tools you will need here: a hammer, a tape measure, some sort of a handsaw, either these types of hand saws, a square, something like either one of these will work, and a screwdriver. Then there are some other tools which just would be nice to have if you have them. One would be some sort of a skill saw, either battery powered or electric powered, some sort of a drill, or a drill like that you could drive screws, and also, if you have a drill, about an 1/8 inch drill bit to pre-drill the holes for your nails is always nice. The other tools that are nice to have would be a couple of clamps of some sort, a caulking gun with acrylic caulking in it, and a hand plane of some sort. But these other tools are things that are nice to have, but you can very successfully build this birdhouse without them. The other materials you will need will be 3 screws, and you can I like to use these kinds of screws that have a star-shaped head on them, but you can also use Phillips headed screws if you feel like you want to use that. I like to use siding nails which have rings on them, or you can use these nails which do not have the rings on them. They are very similar to that. These are a 5-penny galvanized nail. The other things you will need is a 1x6 board and a 1x4 board. They are called 1x4 and 1x6, but they only measure 3.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. And then the 1x6 will measure 5.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. When you purchase material, buy some white pine, and buy something where that you have some clear areas that you can work around larger knots. A knot like this makes it very difficult to cut through it or to nail through it, but also later on it could just fall out and you have a hole on the side of your birdhouse. These are available at any of the box stores that sell lumber or your local lumber yard. The 1x4 needs to be at least 26 inches long the 1x6 needs to be at least 25 inches long. I happen to have these as scrap pieces in my shop, which I will use today. Also, I would like to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever a new video comes out. So this is a basic overview of the pieces that you will need to be cut. The side, they measure 10.5 inches at the top and 9 inches on that bottom side, and then you can just cut another side right next to it, and you would only have to make the one angle cut. That angle will work out to about 15 degrees, and then you need a piece that's just square 6 inches by 5.5. This is all cut out of the 5.5 inch board. Then on the 3.5 inch board, you just need to make 2 straight cuts. One would be at 14 inches from the end, the other one 7 3/4, and then your base will measure 4 inches by 3.5. So it's very simple. These are all the pieces that you will need to construct this birdhouse. I am marking out this board, which is 10.5 inches on this side and 9 inches on this side here. And then from this spot, it's 10.5 inches on this side. When you square this across, it will automatically be 9.5 inches on this side. This is 6 inches here, and you can just make a square mark there, and then you can make a mark between these two lines, which will be your 15-degree angle, and this will be the top of the sides of the birdhouse. I will cut my pieces here. I really like using one of these. These are Japanese hand saws, and they are available on Amazon and also at a lot of the box stores or different places where you would buy tools. Or you can use just a traditional hand saw, the way that this one is. Either one will work fine, and you can just cut these pieces. If you have clamps, you will find that using clamps to clamp your board down will make sawing much easier. These Japanese hand saws, they cut on the upstroke rather than these saws, which cut on the downstroke. These, when you push them, they will cut. These saws, when you pull them, they will cut. It makes it a lot easier to guide these saws when you are pulling up rather than pushing down on them. Here's the top. And there you have your two sides. Now I will mark out my 3.5 inch board, and that you can start out by making a 14 inch long piece. You can square that off. I'll use this square here this time. And then your next board can be 7 3/4 long this way. And as you can see, it doesn't leave me here with the extra 4 inches for the base, and I will cut it out of this scrap piece that I have. I will also cut this knot out because it's much easier to work with clearer lumber, so I like to just cut out all the knots that I possibly can. So 4 inches, and you can just square this off. Your base. That's your back. This is your front. Now, in assembling this birdhouse, some of you may find it much easier to pre-drill the holes for where the nails will go. But if you don't have a drill like this, you can just drive the nails. But if you want to pre-drill them, you can pre-drill a couple of holes, one about here, another one about at that spot, another couple down at the bottom for the base. If you don't have a drill, you can just start these nails off first, placing one nail at that spot, another nail here, that nail there, and then another nail towards the top. Now this is the back of the birdhouse here, and you will want to measure up a couple of inches off the bottom, which would be about 2 inches here. Make a mark there, and that would be your spot where you put your bottom of that side, and you can just nail here. The bottom can go in just like so. Don't know if you can see that. Well, I guess I will have to move this nail in a little bit further so that it's catching on the bottom. So it will be right about there. Then you will want to put a couple of nails in the back to bring this, hold this back down. And this other side can go here. Now the top, if you place it so that the 6-inch long way goes this way, so that there's a little bit of an overhang all the way around on the birdhouse. And what I like to do with the hand plane is, as you can see here, there is a slight gap on the top up here. And with the hand plane, I generally will plane off a little bit of an angle here so that this will fit nicely. If you don't have a hand plane, you can just leave it the way it is. You can caulk this hole up here, which then will seal that joint and keep water from flowing in. If you do have a hand plane and you want to make this little angled cut here, you can do that, and I will just show you how it's done. I make a mark along the back where I want that cut to go to. You can just take a scrap piece of lumber that is left over, and you just clamp it to your workbench here, and then you can just clamp this other piece this way there, and that will hold your piece very nicely while you hand plane that off on the back side. So I just that puts that angle on there, which then will make a much tighter joint up at the top here. It still is nice to put some caulking in this joint afterwards, just to make that as watertight as you can. There again, that's optional, and you don't have to do that. You can measure in just a little bit less than a half an inch, about 7/16 of an inch on either side, and you can make a square line here, which then that will guide you as to where you will be attaching this top to your birdhouse. So then you have some square lines to go by. It will also give you a spot. If you're pre-drilling your holes, you can just pre-drill holes along where that the board will go. I'm going to leave these two nails loose at this point still, and we'll put my front in here. This will bring these side pieces a little bit closer together. I will also pre-drill these holes here where I want my screws to go on that side for that front, which will make it much easier to drive your screws. Drive these screws into the front, and that will bring your front into place where it's supposed to be. When you drill these screws, make sure you drill into the front at the right place, and then that will line up your front with that side. You can either use a hand screwdriver, or if you do have some sort of a drill, you can also drill these in, which makes it much easier to do. Then just drill another hole in the middle of the front. That holds everything together here. Then you can finish driving the nails on the top. With these Bluebird houses, it is important that you end up with an 1.25" hole here, because 1.25" is what the Bluebirds will like to fly in and out of. If the hole is too big, it makes it easier for other predators to get in. If the hole is too small, they won't fly in there. They do not like a perch on the front, even though a lot of times that is a cute looking little addition, but Bluebirds will not like that perch sticking out. They want just a place where they can fly straight in and fly straight out. When you're done, these can just be pulled apart, and that's all that there is to it to clean that out. If you have a caulking gun and you want to caulk that top, you can just, at this point, just run a bead of caulking here and put your fingers across that, and it becomes a nice little spot. It waterproofs that house. And drill a couple of holes here to mount the birdhouse to a pole. Then you can also paint your Bluebird house to whatever color you want. If you want a more natural look, you can leave it the way it is, and it will weather to a grayish color. As you can see, I have built about 5 of these in a little bit over an hour. And when you mount these, you want to mount them about 6 feet off the ground and at the edge of an open field. Bluebirds do not want to be in the woods, so they want to be in the edge of an open field where they can fly around in the field, and then they go to that edge to their nest. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you like this video. If you want to see more of these beginner projects, leave some comments down on the comment section below.